Welcome to lesson 6 of the class. And in this lesson, we're going to get into how to visualize data that's between different tables in the database. This could be between subject tables, and we just in lesson 5 saw a whole bunch of different subject relationships that exist. Or it could be between a category relationship and its receiving table, its receiving subject table. Um, in doing databases, we talk about the fact that it's a relational database and it has relationships in it. But when you talk to database people, they talk of databases in terms of something called joins. Joins, Joins, joins. And what a join does is it allows you to actually give different, I would call flavors to your relationship. In other words, um, what we want to do is we want to visualize our data based on the relationship, but depending on how whichever one we want to have dominate the relationship, it will change the nature of the records that are returned in the view. Now, we've only used queries so far to set our row sources on our lookup tables in our find record controls, and to create a source of records or tuples, if you want to call it that, for a report. And we did that in lesson 4. We're going to carry on. This is going to pick up where we left off, really, in lesson 4. We're actually going to use the same example right up front that we were working on in lesson 4, but this will also show you how you can use joins, not just to create views of your data, but actually to manage your data. We're actually going to use a query as a source for one of our forms. It's again something I don't do very often, but there is a special case where it's the only way to actually get the records into the form, because we still have one more relationship we want to deal with, which is called an auxiliary relationship. And it is the only way really to deal with information that's in an auxiliary uh, table, is to do it through a join. So let's first tackle this whole topic of joins. It's not hard, but it does, and they are extremely powerful. Um, but it does take some thought about how to set up record sets, as we call them, so that you can actually do a good join. So anyway, you see, but in this example right here, E0601, a design of what we call a join select query. All right, and truthfully, there's not any difference between a join select and a select, other than in a join select you're going to set the join property. All right, now by default, all queries will automatically come up as what's called an inner join. All right, now I'll explain what that is in a second, but let's say we have a database that has two tables in it, and those tables are basically a category tables that make up a category relationship. So I have a subject table called product that has a lot of information about the product, and then I have a table called product department, and products can take on a value of a department, and when it takes on that value, then it becomes I'm sorry, it could take on the value for a department. It doesn't have to. It's not a required field in this case. Okay, if it was a required field, then I wouldn't be able to demonstrate the joins. Part of the reason we have joins is because sometimes the foreign key field could take on a null value, and this allows you to be able to work with it even if it's null. So that's a pretty good insight. I should have thought to say that right up front. But anyway, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to have a category on our product that basically categorizes all our products by the department that you would buy them. So say this is a department store, or maybe it's like Cabela's or something like that. There's different departments in the store, and they have products, and products are assigned to individual departments, or it may not be assigned to any department. It may be just a product that either it's in stock and we haven't placed it on the floor yet, or it doesn't necessarily, it moves around a lot. Maybe it stays at the main entrance, whatever. It doesn't really belong to a department. But anyway, however we put that together, we have this. And we're going to put in information about the category from the product department, and then a lot of information from the product table. So this is one of the things that a join helps us do. It's basically like a relationship, all right? And it really pops up automatically if there is a relationship between the tables. There's a category relationship that has already been defined between the lookup table and the product table. And when I drop these in, you'll see I got this little line here. Now, again, I'm going to take the category off of this one so I can see the category, basically the department name, and that's what would be in category here. And then from the product table, I'm going to take the name of the product, its price, whether it's in stock, the number of it that are in stock, I should say, and then we're going to take the display order from category, and we're also going to take the product name again. All right, and there's a reason for that because I want to sort, but I want to sort it first on the display order and then on the product name. And you'll notice I'm not going to show those. So this is a way I could do that. If I was to do ascending here right now and then put display order in, it would sort category first and then display order. I wanted to do display order first and then by product name. You might say, well, why would you even need the product name? In case somebody put the same display order in there twice, then it would be alphabetical on that. And that sometimes does happen. I didn't make those unique values, so you could have display order be in there twice. But it's just a safety net to have the product name in ascending order. So anyway, we've got this set up. All right. If I ran it right now, what would happen is you would see uh, only the records where there's information in product and in in the lookup tables. So a department and a product that actually has that department. Right? We call that an inner join. So what we wouldn't see is any product that's null would not come in the list right now. We'd only see those that are actually assigned to departments. Conversely, if we have a department that has no product, it wouldn't come up either. Only departments that have products would come up in the list because the default here is what's called an inner join. And there are three kinds of joins that we're going to talk about right up front here, but there are more than those really. There are really seven altogether. I'll tell you a little bit about the other ones toward the end of this particular video. But the one that's default for all queries and access in almost every database is what's called the inner join. Those were things they've actually been assigned, if you will. Right? And then we'll talk about the left join and the outer join because those are the ways that we could bring back records from with either table being the dominant one in the relationship. So let's talk about the inner join a little bit. First, let's look at the tables themselves, the data that we have in it. So in product, we've got a bunch of records: product name, product price, department, and the number of items we have in stock. And then, of course, in the lookup table, again, I've got a number of different departments. I actually changed it from the caption from category to be department name, but this is still a lookup table where that would usually be category. And then if I had a description, I could put that in there, and of course a display order. And I wanted to come up camping first. Maybe this is Cabela's, and they specialize in, or Bass Pro Shop, they specialize in camping equipment. So that we'll make that number one. We'll make fishing number two. We'll make swimming oceanic three, and maybe four is rock climbing. So you can see what I've got going on here, though. I've got these records, and I've already picked a department for some of them, okay, but not all of them. I got several in here that have no values. The other thing to notice is fishing hasn't been assigned to any of the records yet. So basically, I have a category that hasn't been assigned, and I also have products that have never been assigned a category. So I've got nulls from different perspective. I got these that are actually null values, but I've got this that there is no other record that's in relationship to it, and that's a null situation in itself, right? So when I do an inner join, what I will end up seeing are all those that actually have a department assigned. So by default, when I write that query and I launch it, I won't get these three back. Conversely, remember I'm also putting the category and name in there. We won't see any category called phishing in there because it doesn't have any records associated with either. So here's my inner join now, and you can see what it returned here is just a subset of those. I've got the departments where the department has actually been assigned to a product, and I've got the products that were actually took on one of those. So I don't have phishing in here, and I don't have the products that had null value. That's what an inner join does for us. An outer join, and there's two kinds of outer joins. Actually, there's other joins too that we use the word outer. We call them an outer join, but really you'll hear it mostly called a left join and a right join. Some people will say a left outer join, some will say a right outer join. But for sake of this class, I'll just usually call it left join and right join. So what's a left join? A left join tells you to bring back all instances of the sending table and only those on the receiving table that actually received that I'm sorry, all on the sending table, but and then only those on the product table that actually have received a value. So if you look here, I've got all the ones that received a value from the product table, but I also have phishing in here. That's what a left join did. It's from the perspective of the sending table in the relationship. So in a category relationship, it's always the lookup table. That's the sending table of relationship. You might notice too, this line here on the inner was just a line. It's what's called a link line. I look at the link line on a left outer join, and it shows that it's basically taking all the values from here and then finding the ones in here where those values were actually used. So it's got this little arrow that points to the receiving table. On a right outer join, it's the other way around. It would be all the records from the receiver and then only those from the sender where the value had actually been sent. So there we got the arrow pointing the other way. And you can see that. I've got all the records now that were in there in the product table. Even the ones that did not have a value, this is actually null. Even though this is unique and required, don't pay attention to it. We actually can't really manage the data very well from here right now, so we wouldn't even try to do this. But you notice phishing isn't in here. So now, usually at this point, somebody will say, well, is there a way for me to bring them all back? Yeah, there is actually. There's a way for you to do this so you can have phishing in here and have all the records from product in here too. Okay, and I'll talk about that in a second. All right, but why are we doing this? Well, for reports, that might be one of the reasons. Maybe somebody tells me, tell me the total I sold in all my departments. Well, just because I don't have a product for phishing doesn't mean I shouldn't have that on the list somewhere that I got zero for it maybe. All right. Conversely, I may have a situation where maybe the referential integrity was suspended or was never set correctly, and I've got orphan records in product. In other words, I deleted a value over here, but now I've got a product that doesn't have anything associated with it, and I want to know what those are, so I can use a right outer join and show that there was nothing to be able to send in a product. So, but truthfully, right outer joins aren't used very often. I mean, I mainly use them when I have some really unusual hybrid views that I need to do in a report. For data management, especially, and for most of the category type reports we do, like we did in lesson 6, the join we want to use is a left join. where we show all of the sending records and then those of the receiving that are related. So think about this. This is a category relationship. It makes a world of sense if I'm given a report that's based on a category to do it that way. It would even make sense on a supplemental relationship. Where I might not, we had phones for our contacts. Well, what if I want a list of all my contacts and phones? If I had inner join, I will only see the contacts that actually had phones. If I have a left outer join, I could show all the contacts whether or not they have a phone. That would do the same thing. And we're going to do this in a second when we do the tutorial. We're going to go fix up what we had before because we had a problem in it before. And I'll point that out in a second. Now, one thing I wanted to point out is in these examples, I used a category relationship. Later, I realized that I should probably what I should have done is actually built this as a reference relationship because department is probably a real subject of my database. I probably would have a lot more information than just a product name, or I'm sorry, a department name and an order. I'd probably have like who the manager is and maybe where it's located in the store or whatever. That would be part of that. So I fixed that in an example database that I'm going to show you in a second. But I just want to point it out that does sometimes happen where you have a category relationship and then you decide later that it really maybe should be a subject in the database. Then you have to go back and rework it. Okay, in this case, it would be a reference relationship. I'd have a one-to-many. A product could be in one department, but a department can have more than one product, but a product can only be in one department in my store. So other ones it might be a many-to-many, and that'd be fine. But this is the nature. This is one of the reasons why database administrators are paid well, is because things don't stay stable very long in databases. And when you have a change like that, it doesn't just mean recharacterizing the data. It means going back and changing your entire data, your data structure in order to make it work. And that means you usually have to scroll your data out to something, make the change, and then bring it back in. And that's a big task sometimes to do all that. But anyway, I wanted to point that out because I am going to show you another one where it's department and product, but it's not a category relationship. It's a reference relationship. So let me get there in a second. But before I do that, I came across something and I really liked it that kind of classifies or categorizes the different kinds of joins that exist. So just like we have different kinds of relationships, within relationships we have different kinds of joins. So here's a little graphic that I found this on the internet and I cleaned it up a little bit and added some text on it in order that you could read it and understand which one of those it relates to. But you can kind of think about an inner join as being two tables, and we're taking the intersection of those two tables. So think about I've got all these records in A and I've got all these records in B, but I want the ones where B actually took on a value of A, and I don't want anything from show anything from A where B doesn't have something taken out from it. So that's my intersection of A and B. Excuse me. On a left outer join, I'm going to bring back everything from A, but only those things from B where they actually received the value from A. And on a right outer join, I'm going to bring back everything from B, but only those things from A that actually sent a value. Again, think of A as being the sender and B as being the receiver in this relationship. So here on the left, everything the sender sends, I'm going to list, and I'm going to list all the records that are in B that we actually receive something from A. And here it would be things that everything in B, and only those things in A that actually sent something to B. And again, here they share. So, what are the other ones? Well, there's a thing called the left excluding join, and what its formal name is left excluding inner join. And you can kind of see that it's a left join that excludes the inner part of it, right? So you're taking this one and you're taking that away from it, all right? And that basically just gives you the value, the records where nothing was sent. So in the case we had, it would be just phishing would come back from this. The phishing record would come back, be the only one that comes back. On this one, it would be, uh, let's see, everything except the null values in the phishing would come back. Okay, that's called the right excluding join. The outer excluding join would be the left comes back and the null ones come back, but the ones that actually did have something where they shared it don't come back. And then finally, the full out, what we sometimes call the full outer join or just the outer join, where all the records from A and all the records from B come back in the record set. So let me show you a little example I put together where I've done all 7 of these. And in this one here, the outer one, there's actually 3 different ways to do it. Now, he's got the select statement that you would use on this, and dot key is the key field that would be in each of these. So this is B's key field and A's key field. And then he's showing you what the code would actually be to do that. I decided to actually build something where we did something like this. So here we go. First off, I've got a product table. It's the same one you just saw. But on the department table, it is no longer a lookup table. It's just a subject table. Just a subject. It is a subject table of the database. And you can see beside the name, I've added a phone number for the department and the manager and the building that it's in and maybe an office number. And there could be a whole bunch of other fields. All right. So the relationship that I have here now is a reference relationship. If I go to product and open up in design view, you'll see that it has the foreign key field for the department on there. And if you look down here, it is not required. All right. Now, if it was required, in other words, that had to take on a value, then the right join would never do anything. It would just bring back everything all the time. All right, because all the records would necessarily have to have a value in there. There wouldn't be a null value to bring back the record for. The left could work though because it doesn't have to take on all. We don't have to have records to take on all the values in our database. So the left could still work. And then of course on the inner, if there is any department that wasn't assigned and I did an inner join, then I wouldn't see anything for that. But on the left, I would at least see that the department exists. Sense. Anyway, I think a lot of this will make sense when I show you some of the other things here. So if I look at the relationship, I've got a reference relationship. Okay, again, 2 major tables that are in a relationship to each other. This is an example of a reference relationship because this foreign key is not in the alternate key of this receiving table and it is not required. So that makes it a reference relationship just by its nature. All right, so I've got that now. Now, again, what I want to do first is I want to see, let me go in and open the query. This is the query between department and product. Again, all I did was create a query and dump those in there, and that line popped up automatically. All right, it knows there's a link there. And right now it's telling me that it's assigning it to be an inner join, and that's fine. If I wanted to change, all I have to do is right click on it, go to join properties, and pick 2 for a left or 3 for a right. But I'm happy with it being an inner, so we're going to leave it at that. Now, from product, I took the product name. From the department, I took the department name. From department, I took the manager. From product, I took the price. Isn't this neat how I could have fields from different tables and put them in whatever order I want to do them to? And I'm going to say in stock. If I wanted to, I can make this ascending. You know, if I wanted to sort it, feel free. You know, I could do that. I could do it on department first, and then put the product name in here again, and have it ascending and not show it. If I just want to show it first, anyway. What I mean by that is, let's say I wanted to have it sorted by department first. Well, I've got product name in there, and I want product name to appear first. What I could do is I could drop product name in there again. First, I'd go to product, and then get product name, and then turn that off, make that ascending, And now when I hit that, you'd see the departments come up in alphabetical order, and these come up second. Second, it's a secondary sort in alphabetical order. So that's the way that I could do that. But I wasn't going to do that here. I'm just going to get rid of that. Just turn off this, and when I do that, and close it out and open it again, you'll see that other one disappear because it wasn't doing anything. It wasn't contributing anything. And Access is smart enough to do that. So here's what I've got, and when I run it now, you'll see what I get. I've got my products, and I got my departments, and I can see there's no null values anywhere, are there? But if I get going back to department and looked at all that stuff, you'll see that uh, what happened here. I got the department. Yeah, here's my department. I got fishing, and when I go over to product and open it up, you'll see that nothing ever received fishing. And not only that, I've got some that are just null, period. So when I ran that one, though, I've got all the ones that I got all the departments that have been assigned, and only the records from product they actually received a value. So that's what an inner does. So to create a left outer join, all I need to do is take the inner join and then make a copy of it, go into its design view, and then change its property, its join property, to be 2, which says include all the records from department, but only those records from product where the join fields are equal. And in doing that, I get this arrow then that indicates that it is a left join where the sending department, the sending value of the department will be placed on the product foreign key field. I'm sorry, where the sending value from the department table is placed on foreign key field in product if we want it. Again, it isn't required, but when we do take on a value, it will come from department. So I run that one now, and you'll see I've got those same ones I had before in here, but I also have fishing. Even though there is no product for fishing, it's going to show it because, again, it's a left outer join. It's going to show all the departments it knows about. So that's kind of neat. Got that. That's a nice little report right by itself. On the right outer join, same thing. Just take what you had on the inner join, copy it, name it something different. I'd call it right join here. And then set that join property to be 3. Include all the records from product and only those records from department where the join fields are equal. And when I run that, you'll see that I am limited on the departments. I don't have fishing in here anymore, but I also have these products that haven't been assigned yet. So this is kind of neat because I look at that and say, oh, well, there's my products that I haven't had assigned yet. I need to put it somewhere. Of course, I don't know that fishing hasn't been assigned unless I'm really looking out for that. But those are the 3 that we tend to use the most, and left join is the one that I think is extremely powerful. In fact, something to show you. I'm going to go to open up the product table in datasheet view. Actually, I'm sorry. Let me open up the department because department tends to be the sender on these. So we got department, and you see it's got that little plus there, right? So it's already got that. Because there's only 2 in here, it knew it had to be that one. So I could go in this department, look at it, and open it up and see all the products that are associated with that department. All right. The data sheet by default, even though queries by default are inner, the data sheet gives you the view of a left. All right. In other words, if I look at this, I'm seeing all the records from department, the left side of it, right? And then I see the ones on the right side. So I'm only seeing those. So right now, if I expanded this, I am not going to see all the product records because some of the product records haven't been assigned yet. Once I assign it, then they'll fall into one of those 4 categories. You see fishing here doesn't have a product, right? So that's good. That works pretty well in the datasheet view. It gives you the appearance of a left outer join by default when you do a sub data sheet. So that's kind of nice. Now, what about the case where I want to do one of these other ones where I have, let me go back to my image. Say I want to do a left excluding. All right. In other words, I just want to bring back fishing, that record for fishing. That's it. The ones that haven't been assigned to anything in B. Well, it's called the left exclude, okay, and the way to build that is different, okay. If I go into design view on this, you'll see that what I did is I said same stuff, but then on the product itself, I'm looking for records that are null, and that'll do the same thing. That will cause that to happen. Conversely, on a right exclude, got the department being null, is null. Again, don't show that. Okay, just say is null. And when you run that, you'll get the ones where you'll get the products that haven't been assigned to a department yet. See, I would have the department in there if that was assigned correctly. I'm surprised it didn't come up as a lookup, but that's all right. I don't think, maybe I never modeled it as a lookup. Let me go back and look really quick. If I go to product, go to department, those were lookups. Huh. So I wonder why that didn't come up as a lookup. Huh, that's strange. Anyway, but you get the idea. All right. Now, what about if I want to see all the records, the full outer? Well, it turns out I can't do that from the query grid. So on that one, I actually had to go out and write SQL code to do it. It's just extremely hard because it has to do something called a union. You'll see it up here that this is a union query, and you cannot graphically show a union, at least not in Access this thing. So I actually had to write this out, this SQL code. But you've got it now. You can see how that works. So when you run it, you'll see phishing comes up because it was never assigned, and the products that were null come up. So this is like a nice little report that tells you, where data needs to be fixed. Where we need to fill in the blank on a lot of things. And then what I would call that was the outer excluding. Now the full outer, if I run that, you'll get all the records. Those that have overlap, those that are basically from the left side, those that are from the right side. So I got basically what I had in that last one plus the inner. So you think about this part as being the inner, and this is a left, and this is a right, and it's all coming together. And again, you can do it from the different perspectives on this, but again, I had to write SQL code to do this. There were 3 different ways to write this in SQL code. Either I could null from the left and the right at the same time, or I could just null from the left, or I could just null from the right. And I know you don't know what that means, but those of you who are really interested, if you want to delve into this, feel free. But for sake of this class, the only 3 I expect you to understand are these 3. The inner join, the left join, and the right join. And the left join, again, being probably the most important one for doing reports. It's absolutely necessary for doing an auxiliary relationship to use a left join. And when we do that in the second tutorial we'll do here in this lesson, I'll use the left join to actually create that, and we'll put that on the form. But anyway, let's close this down because what I want to do next is I want to go out and work the tutorial. So I'm going to close this stuff down so we don't need any more. And we're going to go work the tutorial now. So what we want to do is we want to take that report that we did in lesson 4 and we want to modify it. If you remember, I'm going to bring that up right now so you can see it. I've already done a copy and paste and made my name, enable the thing and all that. So if you remember, what we had is we had auctions, a lot of auctions, and we gave them a type. And then we created a query that would basically tell us what our sales and our expenses and our profit were. And again, we kept the type in there and the name of the item and its eBay number and its close, the bidding close date. And then we use that And by the way, I had a lookup form and all that for that. We used it on what we call an auction report, and we created this report. And it looked really great, except I did point out something to you. If you go down, way down to the end, you'll notice Christmas is last. So these are not in alphabetical order, and I really would like them to be. But I told you we couldn't do that because if we order this field, if we order this field right now is the foreign key field in TBL auction for the lookup relationship. And this is really holding the primary key value. It doesn't hold the value book. It holds whatever the primary key value is. I think book was number one, so that's why it's coming up first. History was probably number two. And I know some of these they were in alphabetical order simply because I entered them that way into the database. But then I went and added one that was out of order, Christmas, and it did not pop up first because I can't sort that way. If I sort it, Christmas right now has a primary key value of like 9 or 10 or something like that. All right. And I can't reorder the primary key value, obviously, because it's an auto generated number. So I need to come up with another way to be able to sort this. And the way to do that is by creating a join on the query, where we actually will bring the field in from the other table and do the sort on it. So let's go out and do that right now. What I want to do is I want to open up this form in design view and go open up its property sheet. And you should see the report property sheet. And you see it's got query auction in there, right? So we've got the query. Let's just build it there. So close down this. And now let's go to the auction query and open it up in design view. What I want to do now is move this over a little bit so you got some space. And so I always like to have the sending one on the left if I can, unless it's a junction table, and then I got to go from both sides. But uh, we right now on that report, I'm going to go back and open up. You don't need to do this. I'm going to open it up, and you're going to see that we are grouping it on auction star item type dash record identifier. That's the foreign key field. All right. What we really want to do is we want to group that on the category, TXT star dash category from this table, because that's actually what's holding those names: war, Christmas, sports cards. That's in that field. Remember, if I open this up, it's in category. So that's what I really want to have there. But all those values right now in that query are coming from the same table. So I need to get the other table in here. And to do that, all I have to do is drop it in. And remember, because I made a relationship, it's going to show that relationship automatically. So I've got the relationship from here to here. And that's fine. And if I ran this now, it wouldn't do anything different because it's pretty much an inner join, all right? First off, I want to bring that category in. So I'm going to go drop that in. I'm going to put it way up here in front too, I think. So I'm just going to drop it in here and I'll put it right first, okay? But then something else, okay? I decided that it's not this that I want to order it on. I want that name, absolutely, and that's a good thing to have just to do that, all right? I'm going to do that anyway. What I really want to order it on is the display order. I want maybe sports cards to come up first and then all the other stuff. Now, if I just want to do category, I could leave that here and do this and go back and group on that. But I'm actually really going to group on the display order. So I go here. In fact, I don't really even need the category name here. I could do without that right now, but I'm going to leave it in there and use that in place of. In fact, I don't think I need it now that I think about it. I don't think I need to have that because I'm going to actually sort on the categories based on display order. Yeah, I don't think I need this, but I'm going to take it anyway. Yeah, I'm going to. Give me 1 second. I have to go look at the notes here. Because it seems to me Yeah, I guess I did. I put display order and category in there. Okay. And then I made display order sending. Okay, that's fine. We could do that. All right, so let's go back. And I'm going to make this ascending. And now everything is the way I want it structured for the records themselves. Right? And don't forget, I also have it here that if they don't have any winning bids, it won't be displayed. So they have actually had. I'm sorry. Actually, the auction should have had bids. Otherwise, the record won't be included in this report, and that's good. So now I want to go up here and I want to right click on that, join properties, and I want to make it a left outer join. So the other thing that's cool about this now is that if I ever have a category where I didn't have any auctions that I had a winning bids on, that category would still be listed. But here's my left outer join now. I'm going to save that. And now I'm going to just close that down. And I'm going to go back to RPT auction, open it up in design view. I don't need to change the query here. By the way, I could have gone and changed the query right from here by hitting that ellipse, and that would have opened it up, and I could have done it and saved it and closed it, and it would save it to the object that I have out there, the QRY auction object. All right. Now, in doing what I just did, this should be showing as not there. Why is it showing as there? Oh, I know why. Because I still have the foreign key value in there. I don't need that anymore. Let me go back. I'm going back to the report. In fact, I'll open that up from here. Going up from here. What I say now is, where's it at? This one right here. The auction, that's the foreign key field. I don't need that anymore. I can take that out of there. So I'm going to do that. I don't need that because I'm going to use this instead. So let me save that, close it down. And now when I go back to my report, you'll see it's got this little green tab there. That means it's not bound to anything right now. The thing it was bound to doesn't exist in here anymore. Now I really like that though. That what I had there, that was where it was showing my category. So rather than delete that and drop it in the category, I just could come up here, highlight that, come up here and say that its control source now, instead of being this long record identifier, blah, 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 is the category. Highlight that, thing that has the green in it, and then I want to change this to TXT category because that actually has the name of what I want in there. All right. And don't worry about this name on top. It's generated automatically. If you want to, you could change it to a group of TXT star dash category. Again, we're never going to refer to it, so it doesn't really matter what it's called. Okay, so now this is nice, but the grouping is all messed up. Okay, and you see here that it had said grouped on that. Well, now we need to say grouped on this. So what I want to do is I want to group on and hit that drop down, and you'll see TXT category. And that's good. So now we'll group on that, and right now it's going to go A on top. Okay, let's leave it at that right now. Save it, and then go out and view it. Okay, just click here on the view, and now you see book and see Christmas is second now. It's in alphabetical order. That's great. And maybe that's the way I want it. And we're done. All right. But let's say for sake of argument, I really want these things to be ordered based on the display order that I had over in this. So if I go over here, you'll see the display order is number 1 show sports cards, number 2 show sports, number 3 show books. Okay. 4 show Christmas, 8 is figurines. That's the last one I've gotten here. Okay, maybe I want to display it in that order. All right, so what I could do now is, again, I'm going to go back to, I could do layout view or design view, either one. I'll go layout view just for the sake of it. All right, and I'm going to add a sort, and I'm going to make that sort on display order. And then I want that to be the very first thing it does. So over here we got this ellipse that has 4 dots on it. Click on that and then move this, and you'll see that bar move there. When it gets to the top, let go of it. Now that should be it, okay? And look what happens. Sports cards are first now. And I go down and should see sports next. They had their sports, and then books and Christmas, and then all the way down to war. All right. And that's cool. That's great. Wait a minute. Wasn't figurines the last one? You know what? I haven't had any auctions yet for figurines. It's a category I put in there. I haven't done an auction yet. So again, I did a left join. Where are the figurines? They should be in there, right? Because because the bids were greater than zero. That's right. That's right. So let's fix that, okay? I just didn't remember that. So if I go over now and I look at my report, you'll see sports cards are number one. We go all the way through it, and at the bottom it says war, but it wasn't the last one supposed to be figurines? Why not? Well, if we made this a left outer join, it should be there, right? So why are figurines not being shown here? Because I said bids had to be greater than zero. So since there was nothing to show for that, it just didn't show those records at all, right? If I go back here and I change the auction query to take off that bids equal to zero, let's just take this out for now. I just do that by, I'll just delete it. Save it. And now if I run that query, I should see everything, including figurines. Yeah, see, and figurines has nothing in it, right? Because it's a left outer join. And now when I do the report on auction report, and I go all the way to the bottom, you'll see the figurines in there. And this is one of the reasons why I wouldn't do this, because it's going to type. If I had a message in there, like I told you, you don't need to do this. But if you have a message, it's going to actually put it in the report like that. And plus, you're going to have these blank spaces in there. Maybe you want that. Maybe you want to show that haven't been any auctions for figurine, and that's a way to do it. But myself, I would just set it back the way it was and show. See, it came from auction, right? Bids. Yeah, right here. Greater than zero. So that's kind of the power of doing a left outer join. One of the reasons I like it a lot. And to do a better order. So that's what the join in itself did, is allowed us to give a better order too. Let me see it again. Just make sure it's right. Yep, everything there. And the grand totals for everybody. I think we got. It's a nice report. Ready to go. And again, if my boss didn't want to see it in order of importance, then I could go back to the query and take out display, or just as easily, maybe I want to keep the query. Maybe I want to use that query for other reports. That's fine. The other thing I could do is I could just come out here and I could take off this sort, just highlight it and delete it, and then do this. So now you get them in alphabetical order. So that's the first tutorial on joins, how we could actually make a nice report based on a join. And again, the left outer join being probably the most powerful join that we could use in doing a report, but you are not required to just to do a left outer join. Most of the time it's a smart one to use, but you may decide that you only want the records for those that have been assigned. Okay, in that case, an inner join would work just as well.